Welcome. Welcome to all of our attendees here today. This is UMass Leads, an introduction to the Elaine Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation, hosted by the UMass Amherst Elaine Marib College of Nursing and the College of Engineering in collaboration with the UMass Amherst Alumni Association. We're really excited to have you all here today. The discussion before you will feature the center's dynamic work happening between nurses and engineers, and how UMass Amherst is preparing our students to incorporate clinical and engineering innovations into their disciplines. I'd like to start our event off by introducing our beloved Chancellor, Kumbal Subbaswamy, or Swami as we all know him here on campus. Swami became the 30th leader of the University of Massachusetts Amherst in 2012. He is a physicist by training, and Swami is an elected fellow of the American Physical Society and American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and has spent most of his entire professional life at public research universities. Over the past 10 years at UMass, he has pursued academic excellence, promotion of research and outreach, and initiatives aimed at addressing campus climate, diversity, and culture. And under his leadership, the campus has experienced unprecedented success. With all key metrics on the rise, the university has moved up significantly in the US News and World Report national rankings, making UMass Amherst one of the fastest growing top-tier public research universities in the country, where I'm lucky enough to work. Please welcome Chancellor Swami.
Thank you, Olivia, for that wonderful introduction. And hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. It's an exciting afternoon as we formally introduce the Elaine Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation. Like all our successful endeavors, the story of this center begins with some UMass-inspired visionary leadership. In fact, it's a double dose of UMass inspiration, for it begins with an alumni couple. Dr. Mike Hallucci, a 1976 alumnus of Electrical and Computer Engineering, and his wife, Terry Hallucci, a 1977 alumna of the Elaine Marib College of Nursing. In 2008, understanding the potential for innovation found at the intersection of their respective disciplines, Mike and Terry founded the Hallucci Graduate Fellowships. These fellowships provided graduate students from both engineering and nursing with annual stipends of $25,000 to support research in clinical healthcare. Over the years, these fellowships led to a robust collaboration between the two colleges. And in 2021, the Halluccis built on their success with a $1 million seed grant to develop a center focused on nursing and engineering innovation. The timing of the Halluccis' investment could not have been more fortuitous. A year into the global pandemic, engineers and nurses had been forging partnerships born of critical necessity, including on our campus, when in the earliest days of the pandemic, in under 2 weeks, our engineers, nurses, and other healthcare professionals incorporated clinical feedback to design a critically needed protective plastic face shield. From their prototype, the Massachusetts manufacturer quickly produced the first order of 80,000 shields. In the months ahead, we witnessed more collaborations as our nurses and engineers responded in real time to COVID-19. Amidst the darkest days of the pandemic, the Halluccis had created a beacon of light. But the story does not end there. Last semester, we received a transformational gift to name the Elaine Marib College of Nursing. In a testimony to the visionary leadership of both the Halluccis and our alumni, Dr. Marib, the gift included a $5 million to establish the Elaine Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation. The center will host an annual symposium for thought leaders seeking to address pressing issues in healthcare. It will fund innovation fellows in nursing and engineering, allowing students to explore problem solving in fundamentally different ways. And it will provide seed funding for innovation research pilots to support interdisciplinary teams as they develop solutions at the intersection of the disciplines. Today, as we come together to officially introduce the Elaine Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation, we celebrate and reaffirm the excellence of the university. On behalf of the entire university, I thank Mike and Terry Hallucci and Elaine Marib for their visionary leadership and generosity. And I thank our researchers, faculty, and students whose commitment, resourcefulness, and innovation fuels the center. As we listen today and hear the inspiring stories of your success, we understand that by challenging the traditional boundaries of knowledge, you are leading a new model for healthcare delivery. By removing the silos, you're creating exciting career opportunities focused on the next generation of medical devices to better serve practitioners and patients. You truly embody our revolutionary spirit, and I thank you for your present and future contributions. Go UMass.
Thank you so much, Swami, for that wonderful storyline as to how we got to where we are today. To get our program further underway, I'd like to introduce everyone to the Dean of the College of Engineering, Sanjay Raman. Dean Sanjay Raman came to UMass in August of 2019. Prior to joining the College of Engineering, Dean Raman was Associate Vice President for the Virginia Tech National Capital Region, President and CEO of the Virginia Tech Applied Research Corporation, and a tenured full professor in their Bradley Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. From 2007 to 13, Raman was a program manager in the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, which many of you may know as DARPA, right? Microsystems Technology Office. Raman earned his doctorate in electrical engineering from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor in 1998 and joined the ECE faculty at Virginia Tech. Prior to his doctoral studies at the University of Michigan, Raman served as a nuclear-trained submarine officer in the US Navy from 87 to 92. I don't think a lot of our other deans have that one under their hat. He is an elected fellow of the Institute for Electrical and Electronics Engineers, the IEEE, for leadership in adaptive microwave and millimeter wave integrated circuits. Please welcome Dean Raman.
Thank you, Olivia, for that very generous introduction. I'm really excited to be here for the launch of the Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation. I would like to also acknowledge my colleague, Dean Allison Borderstrasse, who cannot be here, but this is absolutely a partnership, a very deep partnership between the colleges of nursing and the College of Engineering. I just want to echo the Chancellor's thanks to Mike and Terry Hallucci, alums of both of our colleges, who really were the inspiration and the early vision for this center. They really taught us that the interactions and collaborations that occur at the interfaces of our two disciplines are incredibly important. We're all very familiar with the importance of customer discovery in innovation, but the types of healthcare problems that we're tackling today in this center and in our communities really transcend just the discovery of the needs of customers. We really need to be co-creators of innovation, nurses and engineers working together at the lab bench and in the clinical setting to develop these innovations and deliver better healthcare solutions to our communities. So I'm just super excited to be here. I think this center really represents the future of UMass Amherst, which is a highly collaborative and highly interdisciplinary environment for students and faculty and researchers to work together to really change the future. And so looking forward to the discussion. And at this point, I'd like to introduce the center co-directors, the founding co-directors of the Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation, Karen Giuliano, associate professor of nursing, and Frank Supp, associate professor of mechanical industrial engineering. Welcome, everyone, and look forward to the discussion.
All right, thank you so much for that warm welcome from the Dean and also from our Chancellor. I just need to share my screen quickly. Started. So first, thank you all for joining us. Karen and I are very excited to be the first foundation co-directors of the center. I'm Professor Frank Supp, and I'm working with Karen Giuliano to really create an exciting new center that brings nurses and engineers together. The mission of our new center, as you just heard, is really to realize what we're calling the nurse-engineer approach. This is a closely integrated team that leverages the depth of knowledge and experience of each discipline, and it brings them together to identify problems and then collaborate on potential solutions. Bringing these different perspectives together at the start of the process enables bidirectional sharing at all stages of the development and allows for the thoughtful analysis and iteration needed in order to balance the trade-offs so we can really focus on the health of the patient and improve the environment for nursing in healthcare environment. With this mission in mind, we're working to unleash the untapped potential of nurses and engineers here on campus through the development of this new center to create an environment that's going to foster the ability for interdisciplinary innovation and enable them to pioneer new approaches to healthcare challenges. To realize this mission, we're working on establishing our networks here on campus, across industry, and with our alumni to help us focus our vision to make impactful contributions. All of this will help us sustain the work at the center and develop the resources needed to be successful. Karen's now going to give you a look at some of the new center facilities that we've developed.
Well, we've already begun setting up the physical spaces that we need to accomplish our center work. In the Institute of Applied Life Sciences, which is that picture at the top, we have lab space on the 6th floor, and it's adjacent to the new biomedical engineering program space, which is a fantastic location. We imagine this space as a place for really close interdisciplinary collaboration for new ideas to be born and tested. In addition, the Elaine Marib College of Nursing already has designated space for nursing simulation that's used in the routine training of nurses. And those spaces exist both at Amherst and also a really nice space in Springfield. Also in addition to that space, we have designated a space on the UMass Mount Ida campus in Newton, Mass, which is just outside of Boston. So that space still needs to be built out. But these spaces together now serve as a place for interdisciplinary product usability testing and student training to occur, with nurses and engineers working in ways together that they never have done before. Product usability testing is a required part of medical product development, and so the availability of these spaces is really key to our success.
So another important aspect of our center's mission is developing a collaborative faculty network between nurses and engineers. Through the generous donation from Terry and Mike Hallucci, we've launched an internal pilot grant program for nurse engineer teams to jumpstart translational research through joint scholarship so they can gather the preliminary data needed to obtain external funding. Just this February, the center awarded its first 4 nurse engineer type team pilot awards. The pilot awards fell into 2 categories, sort of the devices side and the services side. The 2 device-focused projects are shown here, and on the left, you'll see a project led by Professor Chung of nursing and Professor Du in mechanical engineering, and they're developing a 3D vision-based system to unobtrusively sense chronic pain in individuals who may not be able to directly communicate their pain status due to dementia or other factors. And in another project led by Professor Juan Jimenez in mechanical engineering, and Janine Blake, a graduating PhD nursing student, focuses on IV smart pumps and how their setup and use impacts the accuracy and implementation of these systems. For our service-focused pilot awards, the focus is really on healthcare data and getting that data into the hands of patients and healthcare providers to help improve one's health. One project led by Professor No of electrical engineering and Professor Jocelon of nursing focuses on the big data problem facing healthcare today. The rapid expansion and ability to remote monitor vital patient signals and then process that data requires development of methods to enable timely and accurate delivery of protected healthcare data so you can create better health outcomes for individuals. The second project focuses on self-managed care and is led by Professor Choi of nursing and Professor No of electrical engineering. This project looks at the use of smart devices to help modify one's lifestyle to manage chronic diseases. The project also recognizes the diversity of different individuals and how to provide culturally competent behavioral therapy strategies to improve one's own quality of life. These pilot projects are just some of the examples of the great work the center will support in the coming years to develop our students and build partnerships. Next, Karen's going to discuss some projects being led directly by our undergraduate students.
And this is our first undergraduate design project that we did. It began in the fall of 2020 when our interdisciplinary nurse engineer team visited the home of a mom and child to survey the patient's home. and home environment and to understand the requirements needed for a custom wheelchair. We looked at environmental factors, including the floor surfaces, the sizes of the doorways, the level of the floor, what the types of activities that the mom needed the wheelchair to do, and spoke at length with her to help us figure this stuff all out. Because her child was getting older and heavier, her major need was to have was to allow the seat of the wheelchair to be easily movable, which would allow her to lower the child to the floor so he could play. So from our assessment of the home and the mom's discussion with the mom, we developed a comprehensive list of wheelchair features, which included a height altering mechanism in the wheelchair to allow the seat to be lowered with minimal exertion on the part of the mom, a removable armrest and a ability to lateral transfer so she could easily get the child from the wheelchair to the kitchen table, to the couches and the other places that the child used routinely. And we had to make sure the overall size of the wheelchair fit the dimensions that in the home so it could be easily moved. So in March of 2021, our team made a second. We went back to the drawing board and the engineering team went ahead and created this. The nursing student was really integral in helping scope out these as well from the sort of humanistic perspective. So between the human and technical, we were able to come up with a design. And so in March of 21, we made our second visit to the home with the first version of the prototype, or the version. This resulted in a few additional design changes, took the wheelchair back to UMass, made those design changes, did all the required safety testing, and then delivered the final completed product back to the home in May of 2021. All the students worked together. They did an amazing job. And as a result of the leadership of Sam, I nominated him for a 2022 Rising Researcher Award, which is bestowed upon seniors at graduation. So wish Sam luck. And next you'll hear about his experience firsthand.
Hi, my name is Samba Basal, and I'm currently a senior nursing major graduating in spring 22. My junior and senior years, I worked on a project through the Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation, where I was on a team with 5 mechanical engineers. We were tasked with designing and building a customized wheelchair for a disabled pediatric patient that had to fulfill his specific needs. The experience that I gained from working on this project was invaluable in both my academic as well as personal lives. Most of my undergraduate career was focused on explaining the many different roles that nurses play within healthcare in the inpatient and outpatient settings. This opportunity gave me a unique look into the importance of having the nursing perspective in medical device design and the roles that nurses can play outside of the traditional healthcare settings. For this project, I had to think critically, conduct research on my own, and make recommendations on design improvement based off of it. I had to view the world as a nurse while also viewing it as an engineer. I got to see the tedious process through which complex calculations are designed and conducted to ensure that a finished project is made to specifications. Once the entire wheelchair was created, I also got the opportunity to understand safety testing and the demands set by the industry. Taking the finished project to the subject's family, I conducted usability testing to analyze the work we did and see how it was faring in the environment it was designed for. This testing allowed me to see if we met all the needs that this pediatric patient had, or if there were any improvements that could be made to the final product. The experience that I gained from this project was vastly different from anything I had done before this. The research I conducted has made it easier for me to understand where to find and how to read reputable sources for any other issues that I may now have, including journal studies that I used to look up medications and patient care techniques. The hands-on experience in design and building has helped me greatly in my personal life and has helped me become more competent with basic building skills. Now that graduation is just around the corner, I begin to look into all possibilities the nursing and engineering offer together, including some mechanical engineering master's programs that are open to non-engineering related bachelor students. Overall, the Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation made it possible for us to finish our project and gave me a whole new perspective on nursing, as well as a new avenue to follow my passion for nursing and engineering meet.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, and here we are back at it again with another group of senior mechanical engineering students this semester, only this time our goal is to redesign the bedpan. These are pictures of the engineering students in our simulation space in the nursing school, learning about the design inputs needed for the project. This bedpan idea actually came from Nicole Anderson. She's a critical care nurse who is just finishing up her MBA at the Eisenberg School and is working with the center as an intern. So Nicole also has some thoughts to share with us as well.
Hi, my name is Nicole Anderson, and I'm a second-year graduate student at the Eisenberg School of Management, finishing my MBA. I've been a critical care nurse for just about 19 years, and 10 years ago started researching a career pivot. As any nurse would do, I went down typical routes: nurse anesthetist, nurse practitioner, nurse educator, and so on. I pondered those roles for a bit, but found I wasn't enlightened and frankly wondered why a nurse would have to pivot. I was merely seeking to impact patients, but out of the clinical setting. So through my research, I drilled down further to the root cause of why I became a nurse: to help people. And I've arrived at my sweet spot: medical product innovation. From that moment, it was apparent the role R&D teams have played in improving my patients' outcomes, and I want in. My goal is to become a product manager within the medical device sector, and I can't wait to get started. I hope to collaborate with engineering on a product development team. I want my patients to recover quicker, nurse satisfaction and workflow efficiency to improve, and my portfolio to be profitable through the intersection of a nurse-engineer team. So how does the Elaine Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering fit into all of this? Well, the center couldn't have opened at a better time. As part of my MBA, I'm a Business Innovation Fellow for the Institute of Applied Life Sciences here on campus. And through Karen and Frank's vision of nurse-engineer problem solvers, I've executed vital work for the center and its mission. Through all of this, I realized nurses actually do not have to pivot. I hope to set the stage and encourage other nurses to follow in my footsteps and consider a future in nurse engineering. A little about my projects. Since joining last year, I've had my hands in multiple strategic initiatives. I developed and I'm directing the center's digital and social strategy. I'm completing the center's business plan, inclusive of 5-year financials. And the best part, I'm a nurse innovator. Current work is being done to develop a medical product based on this nurse's idea, with the collaboration of an on-campus engineering team and the experience Karen and Frank can offer. This wouldn't have been possible without the Elaine Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation, and I am thankful. So you might be asking yourself now, how do I get involved? Please follow us on social to stay up to date on the center's latest happenings. Thank you.
All right. Again, one of the best benefits of working in the center is meeting and working with all these great students and fellow faculty and industry. And again, so we've just heard about some of the great things being done through our network of faculty and students here on campus. And now I'm going to share about some of the initiatives being led by the center directly. One of the technologies that's rapidly advancing across many widespread applications is robotics. As a field, it's pushing the boundaries of what a device is by leveraging the fundamental robotics paradigm of sense, think, act. First, a robot senses the world, then it interprets the information to make a decision before it physically takes an action, and then continues a cycle by sensing the results of its action. When we think about a robotic system, it's important to view them both as a system that can do things in isolation. Think of a robot in the factory working all on its own, but also in collaboration with a person, like an automated assistive assistant that can improve the performance of a human robot team through division of tasks and utilizing the skills of each. A key to enabling a good collaboration with a robot is letting people be good at being people, or letting robots be good at being robots. If we can envision a future that has collaborative robotic nursing assistants, we can see that the nursing approach of assess, diagnose, plan, implement, and evaluate is complementary to the basics of the robot approach of sense, think, act, right? It's kind of the way that people in general act. This parallel allows for many opportunities for robots to assist nurses in their regular duties through providing information, performing analysis, and completing tasks that help contribute to the patient's overall care. Also, if these systems can be deployed at scale and cost effectively, they could help increase access to and quality of healthcare. So, working towards our center's mission, we're developing a collaborative robotics research thread to help us identify and address real needs in patient care that are going to make an impact. In this work, we're training nursing and engineering teams on current and near future state of robotics. To help students understand a robot, we look at them both as a complete device, sort of what you see here, the full sense, reason, act, but also the individual pieces of robotic technology, sensing, thinking, and acting, each in sort of isolation, to help gain a better understanding when evaluating applications for robotic systems. To help us do this, we acquired the robot that you see here called Stretch. And this robot is going to help us enable nurses and engineer teams to visualize and prototype applications with the goal of identifying impactful uses of robotics in patient care that should be developed further. And just as importantly, those that should not be developed further, right? That maybe take away from the nurses' state So it's going to give us better insight as well into the knowledge gaps in robotics, as well as focus our research into where we can improve robotics in general to better collaborate with people. In the next video, you're going to meet Gina, a mechanical engineering PhD student, and Josh, an honors nursing student. We're going to tell you a little bit more about this project and what it means to be part of the center.
Hi, my name is Gina Jocelon. I am a PhD candidate in mechanical engineering and am supported by the Elaine Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation. I am working with nursing student Joshua Lickman, Professor Frank Supp from engineering, and Professor Tracy Cobb from nursing. The goal of our project is to develop and validate an assessment tool for the usability and perception of robotic technology in the clinical setting.
Hi, I'm Josh Selkman, and I'm a nursing student. As a nurse in training with limited experience at the bedside, I had the opportunity to question everything that I experienced. What I noticed immediately is that the modern hospital room is filled with machines, computers, and technology that are capable of doing incredible, complicated, and intricate things. What became apparent rather quickly, however, is that many of the simple but time-consuming nursing tasks are often overlooked by this technology, or the technology is more of a nuisance than doing the task manually.
The overall goal of our team is to facilitate interdisciplinary collaboration between nurses and engineers, as well as to enable nurses to be at the forefront of technology innovation. I want to work on this project so I can help ensure that nurses are not only heard, but listened to before and during the entire design process. That way, the creation of depersonalized and dehumanized workplaces can be prevented, and robotic technology can be created in a way that not only improves patient care, but also nurses' job fulfillment.
Robotic technology can play a role in improving healthcare. It can perform procedures with high precision, reduce medical errors, and assist in offloading the tasks that do not directly affect patient outcomes or even compromise nursing productivity. Its incorporation into the healthcare system is ongoing and changing the practice of nursing rapidly. My goal for the research surrounding robotic technology is to bring more input from nurses to patients and to develop the next generation of healthcare technology. The research I will conduct for this project is focused on the usability of a mobile robot, as well as the shared perceptions that nurses and patients have of robotic assistants.
This project has made me realize that, unfortunately, nurses have always faced challenges that have made their jobs difficult. From the increase in the age population and chronic diseases to the nurse shortages and burnout, nurses need help. Thankfully, our project mentors have been great and have emphasized that no idea is too big to pursue and that non-traditional collaborations are extremely valuable. This is evident by our fantastic team made up of people from nursing, engineering, and computer science. As someone who was unfamiliar with both nursing and robotics at the beginning of this project, I've been very fortunate to work with Professors Supp and Cobb while navigating this complex and interdisciplinary field.
And another center initiative directed that we're really focusing on is directed at improving both the safety and usability of IV smart pumps. IV smart pumps are actually among the most frequent sources of error reported to the FDA compared to other types of medical technologies. And most of the stuff that's in current clinical use now was developed a long time ago. Although the introduction of IV smart pumps with built-in dose error reduction systems has improved safety, we still have an unacceptably high level of medication administration error. So we have an active program of research directed toward this, and are very fortunate to have, as you see listed on this slide, some excellent internal and external collaborators. And in fact, Nat Sims is the inventor of the dose error reduction system that's resident on every IV smart pump. So we have published widely already on the topic and have already succeeded in influencing the Institute for Safe Medication Practices to update its most recent guidelines on optimizing IV smart pump use. However, we promise we are just getting started. Our goal is seriously to generate the foundational work needed to improve the safety of IV medication administration for all patients in acute care. So here's an example as a result, partly as a result of this work. Janine Blank, our own Elaine Marib College of Nursing doctoral student, is leading a new program of research based on her own ideas on flow rate accuracy. It is the topic of her dissertation, and which she'll defend next Monday, so wish her luck. And then on July 1st, Janine will begin a postdoctoral research fellowship working under Dr. Juan Jimenez in the College of Engineering. So our first nursing doctoral student going to an engineering postdoc. This research is, without exaggeration, groundbreaking work that has the potential to change the way IV medications are delivered in U.S. acute care. Her postdoc also has a high likelihood of being funded by the NIH, as Janine has just received a very high score on her individual postdoctoral fellowship application, which is a highly competitive and selective process, and I think it really speaks to the importance and relevance of this work. So let's hear a bit more from Janine.
Blake. I am so pleased to have been asked to speak about my experience as a PhD candidate in the Elaine Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation. Throughout my time as a PhD student, I've been mentored by Dr. Karen Giuliano, who, like myself, is a critical care nurse seeking to improve how products and devices function for frontline clinicians. As a surgical ICU nurse, I quickly learned that the critical care environment is filled with challenges that can interfere with our ability to provide the physical and emotional care that our patients and their families need. There's rarely enough space, supplies, or helping hands, but on top of that, the equipment never quite works right. The technology and products provided to us are not designed for us. Rather, they often seem to be designed by someone with little or no understanding of the needs of an end user nurse. One piece of equipment I became intimately familiar with are the IV smart pumps that I am now passionate about improving. IV smart pumps are used to deliver high risk and fast acting medications, and unfortunately they are wrought with usability issues that can lead to serious risk to patient safety. Studying under Dr. Giuliano is when I really started to learn the issues with this technology, and my investment in this research took off from there. This work has truly been supported through the Elaine Marib Center, and I feel so fortunate to be a part of such an innovative and collaborative team. As a practicing clinician, there wasn't a shift that went by without some level of frustration about how poorly products worked for those of us at the bedside. I've learned through my studies here that problems like these don't have to be accepted, that nurses have a voice to speak up, to collaborate with other disciplines and make change. My work on IV smart pumps is just one example of much needed collaborative research. This work will change how hospitals make decisions and how regulation is put forth for safety standards. With the support of the Elaine Marib Center, it feels like the possibilities are endless for how researchers, clinicians, and students across disciplines can come together to bring change to how healthcare is delivered to patients. I will soon be defending my dissertation, and I'm excited to be graduating in May, at which point I will continue here at the center as postdoctoral research fellow under the mentorship of Dr. Juan Jimenez, a professor of mechanical and industrial engineering with expertise in fluid dynamics, an important aspect of my research on IV smart pumps. This fellowship is perfect for myself as a growing scientist to expand my program of research, but also wonderfully supported by the mission of the Elaine Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation. I don't know of another space where I would have such a unique and incredible opportunity to study under both nurses and engineers and learn how together we can make an impact on the delivery of healthcare. Thank you.
And as you can see from this slide, we already have several funded projects in process, all focused on some aspect of technology used by nurses. And let's not forget, nurses are the largest group of healthcare practitioners and use more products and are part of more services than anyone. So if you're interested in learning more or getting more information on any of these projects, please let us know because we'd love to share. And then, as you can imagine, getting started with the Elaine Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering is no small feat. First, we're dedicated to supporting as much training as possible. And so in addition to the pilot grants that you've already heard about, we'll be funding undergraduate students to participate in the Institute for Applied Life Scientists summer internship program. This will provide them with hands-on training and interdisciplinary experience as a part of a cohort of 30 students from all over the university. While engineers have routinely participated in this program since its inception, this is a first for nurses and a really nice opportunity. Since we also want to make sure we engage as many collaborators and supporters as possible, we have just launched our social media, as you heard something about from Nicole. And as Nicole asked, please do follow us. And this month in March, marks the release of our new bi-monthly column, The Nurse Engineer, in the American Journal of Nursing. Something we're very excited about, with a wider readership than any other nursing journal. The column is called The Nurse Engineer. Our formal website should also be launched by the end of March this month, and we will continue to be professionally active in disseminating our work at interdisciplinary conferences. We're also very interested in engaging with industry, and in fact, we already have plans to conduct usability testing in partnership with Draeger Medical, based out of Andover, Massachusetts. Please feel free to connect us with any other industry partners you know that you think would benefit from working with our center. And finally, we are committed to developing a sustainable operational infrastructure so that we can continue to grow the center for many years to come. If you're interested in engaging with us and have some ideas, again, we'd love to hear from you. So finally, Frank and I would like to thank you all for your time this afternoon in learning about the Elaine Marib Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation. And we'd like you all to mark your calendars for a fall event on September 13th, where we will be holding the first annual symposium, supported by the donation of our alumni, Mike and Terry Hallucci. This symposium will be focused on sharing nursing and engineering innovations and building networks both within and beyond UMass with researchers, frontline clinicians, and our industry partners. So with that, we'd like to turn the program back over to Olivia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Giuliano and Professor Supp, and our amazing students who took part in sharing all the work that they're doing, and for all your work in catching all of that so that our alumni can see it firsthand. You know, in the beginning of this conversation, for those who came in a little bit after our chancellor spoke, he shared a story about our alumni. And it's interesting that this is the first event where it's only nursing alumni and engineering alumni who have come together, and of course, friends of nursing and friends of engineering, to hear about this collaborative work. And I just want to really give a big shout out to all the alumni who are watching today and listening and feeling inspired, because I do want to really magnify that it's been the passion and support of our own alumni from UMass Amherst who really have led to where we are today, and to all the work that you just heard about just now. So I would like to invite the two very special alumni attending here today to join us, Mike and Terry Hallucci. Mike graduated from UMass with a degree in electrical engineering in 1976, and Terry graduated with a bachelor's in nursing in 1977. I'm going to turn it over to Terry Hallucci right now. Thanks for being with us today, Terry.
Oh, thank you so much, Olivia. As Olivia just said, I graduated in 1977 from UMass, and it was there that I met my husband, Mike. We both lived in Wheeler, and he was studying electrical engineering then. And it's very exciting for us to see this collaboration between the College of Nursing and the College of Engineering. Our earliest involvement began about 15 years ago when we supported a summer program that paired undergraduate nursing and engineering students who worked together on problems in the healthcare arena. We were impressed with both the students and, of course, on the exciting projects that they took on. And also impressive was the collaboration between nursing faculty and engineering faculty. And in the intervening years, that collaboration has continued and eventually led to the formation of the center.
Thank you so much, Terry. Mike, it looks like you're on vacation there. Do you want to share a little bit about how you got here?
Well, first I have to apologize to Terry. I left her in wintry Boston to seek out some sun and sand. And as you can see behind me, you know, I'm in a nice spot right now. All kidding aside, I'm probably about 3 miles away from Terry. I can't, as Terry said, we can't tell you how excited we are to be about the center, its formation, of course, and now its growth as we see it. Terry gave you a little bit of history about how we became involved in the College of Nursing and Engineering in this collaboration. And looking forward, though, we really do strongly believe the center will provide an excellent environment for nursing and engineering students and faculty to work together to promote innovation and entrepreneurship. If anything, the COVID-19 pandemic made clear the critical need for innovative solutions in clinical settings where both nursing and engineering play vital roles, as you've heard already today. My experience has taught me that innovation often results from the collaboration between different disciplines. And what better disciplines are there than nursing and engineering? It was certainly worked out well for Terry and me, if you like. Let me finish by saying just how grateful Terry and I are for the generous gift of the Elaine Marib Charitable Foundation. This will certainly serve to accelerate the work of the center and make it all that more formidable, in the academic world, and how innovation evolves and entrepreneurship evolves from it. We're excited to look forward to seeing. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for being here today, Mike and Terry, and for all your continued support. So I hope you guys find that an inspiring story of the people who come together at UMass Amherst for their studies can go on to leave quite a path later on in terms of their passions and support. I'm going to turn our program now over to our Q&A. I want to thank all of our alumni who submitted questions when they registered for our event. We have compiled a list of a lot of those questions, and I'm going to get us started by asking some of the larger questions that we had composed to Karen and Frank. And I encourage you, I know some of you have already submitted some questions into the Q&A, which we will try to get to as well. So I appreciate all of your activity there. If we don't get to them today, we will try to follow up with you, and we'll have contact information at the end of this session. So without further ado, I'd like to turn to Karen and ask her the first question. You've already done quite a bit of work on IV infusion devices, safety and usability. Is that knowledge being used to improve bedside care? And if so, how?
Yes, well, thank you. And yes, first of all, that technology is probably the most commonly used device in all of healthcare. So anything that we can do to improve its use is going to has the potential to impact huge numbers of patients. But I'll give you an example. Any of you, during COVID, there was lots of things that had to happen in order to really continue to deliver care. And if you turned on the news, you've probably seen shots in hospitals about equipment being moved outside of the rooms. That also included IV smart pumps. And so what happens with that is it obviously requires, instead of maybe a few feet of tubing, several feet, up to 30 or 40 feet, to move that outside of the room, which impacts the flow dynamics and the medication deliveries in ways that were never intended or included in the design. So we got together with our experts, some of our outside experts, and we put together an article because people really just didn't understand. They just had to do what they thought was best at the time. We put together an article and published it in advance for critical care. It received 12,000 downloads in its first 2 weeks. It became the go-to reference for even things to think about. It wasn't data-based, it was theory-based in terms of these are the things you ought to think about, but it spurred additional research and interest. And as a result of that, just that one article, we had 2 letters to the editor that we were requested to write as follow-up. We got contacted by Nursing Now, which is an international nursing organization, and they're now kicking off a nursing tech series, which is leading with our IV smart pump information. We're going to be featured in a future podcast called See You Now, which is a collaborative effort between the American Journal of Nursing and the Johnson & Johnson. I am working now with the Institute for Safe Medication Practices, and hopefully we'll actually be working closely with them over the next 12 months they direct a lot of the testing requirements that are done and used by the FDA for regulatory approval of these devices. And we'd really like some of the information that we've generated to help change some of those testing protocols to make them more relevant to actual clinical practice. And then American Association of Critical Care Nurses has also just recently put out some guidance on that, on IV smart pumps with extended tubing that we saw with COVID that were partly based on our work. So those are just a few examples of how it's being used to transform clinical practice.
Great. Thank you, Karen. This next question is one that came in from a few different people in a number of different ways, and I'm gonna punt it over to Frank over in engineering. The question is, do you think that AI and robotics will take jobs away from nurses?
Yeah. Thank you, Olivia. It's a good question. And it's a question I think that, when people hear robotics and they hear sort of popular media and news, closely followed behind is job, right? It's taking jobs from somebody. And I think one of the things to realize here is that first, there's a nursing shortage, right? We need more nurses, not less at this point in time. And the nurses we do have need assistance. They need more help. And again, by having more tools at their disposal that can let them individually make greater impact, whether through more patients, through better healthcare provision, or better use of the nurse's time, right? Again, letting people be people, those robots can take over tasks that may be taken away from really some of those core values of nursing and what it is that they want to do. So one of the things that we're really excited about in this center is kind of taking a little bit of a different approach on this sort of robotics field. And again, if you see robotics in medicine, they're there. They kind of tend to fall into the two extremes, right? So there's one very focused sort of surgical level stuff, maybe you've heard of a Da Vinci robot, right? Very precision, precise, repeatable things that are trying to be done at the robotics level. And then at the other side of the spectrum is sort of the isolation. So these are sort of supply chain robots. And you've seen this in hospitals already. I know at Boston's Children's, there's a little tug that moves food carts from the cafeteria up to the different floors. Again, good job for robotics, again, in terms of labor shortages and cost and efficiency, there's potential there. But what we see in the middle ground, and what we're trying to do is working directly with nurses to help identify what are these problems in the middle, actually interacting with the patient, what would the patient want from the patient's perspective. And that's actually when we started talking to nurses about this. Obviously it was a patient's first perspective. It's like, yeah, this might be good for me, but how is the patient going to perceive this? What is going to be the best for them? So really what's exciting about this, what we're looking to do is actually create new technology. And it's not the nurses that are in danger of being replaced. It's the technology that already exists in the hospitals, right? It's IV smart pumps, it's beds, it's all this other technology that's surrounding there. In another couple decades, that equipment's all going to be gone, and the next generation of equipment will be there to better assist nurses in what they're doing.
All right. Doesn't sound like we should be scared of the robots, Frank.
No.
We had a comment that I just wanted to share that I thought was interesting. Somebody said, when I was a nursing student at UMass, class of 74, people said that they had the two hardest majors on campus were engineering and nursing. And now as an infectious disease doctor working during the pandemic, I can definitely see how nursing and engineering together could solve emerging problems. So thank you for that comment. That was a nice thing to share that reinforces the work that we're doing. Another question that came in, I'm gonna pitch over to Karen. Are there any inventions or IP that you expect to generate from your IV smart pump research and projects?
Yeah, we didn't mention that in the presentation, but generation of IP is definitely one of the things we want to do at our center and many of our projects. With regard specifically to IV smart pumps, we don't want to build a new pump. I think we're going to leave that up to the pump manufacturers. However, we already have two ideas for IP that can go on to current pumps. One is around external flow rate accuracy, and so that's based on Janine's work. And then another is the pumps that are currently used most commonly have very specific setup requirements with regard to the height of the pumps relative to the patient and the height of the bags relative to each other in order to deliver flow accurately. And what we're finding from Janine's research, if this is not done properly, it's inaccurate. So the pump might say 50, but you're probably not getting that. And so we actually have already kicked off one of the pilot projects that Frank highlighted, was the development of a new IV pole, which we can do, which only allows the pumps to be set up in the way that they're supposed to be in order to meet manufacturer's requirements. We will work on that, and that'll be done, and then we'll have a prototype and hopefully a working prototype that maybe can be a commercial product within the next 12 months.
Excellent. Great to hear. It's a good question. We have one other question. This one's for you, Frank. Do you see the area of research focused mostly at the graduate level? And how do undergraduates get a taste of the center?
Yeah, no, I think really this is trying to develop at all levels. I mean, it really is trying from the undergraduate level to the graduate level, and as you saw too, even in the postdoctoral, in the faculty. And what we want to do is really create a really interdisciplinary team, trying to get the graduate students involved. And again, graduate students, the difference there is they're kind of more focused from the start, right? A graduate student comes in, has ideas about getting, you saw from Janine and you saw from Nicole and Gina about what they want to take on and what they're going to focus in. And that's where the center wants to support that and help bring these innovations together, exposing them, the engineers being exposed to nursing, nursing being exposed to engineers, and then just having that forum that you can start to collaborate. At the undergraduate level, a lot of it, it tends to just be exposure. It's creating these opportunities as internships, independent studies. UMass has the honors program, so doing honors capstone projects. All these things can be sponsored and brought in and supported through the center. So we're really excited at all levels, bringing students in and developing nurse engineers.
I also think your symposium that you're holding in September will be a great place for a lot of the undergraduate student population to have an understanding of, oh, wow, this is something nursing can do. So I look forward to that.
It's true.
Another question we have here is, this is for Karen, how can you take the incredible discoveries you're making and bring them to the bedside, translate into real world applications?
Well, first of all, I think it really comes from understanding what's needed, which has been missing too much, as even Nicole said, and has been my experience. And I don't think we didn't talk about it during this seminar so far, but I'm a relatively new entrant into academia, but I spent over 20 years working in medical device companies building products. So I have an experience of being able to see what it takes to bring a product from the idea phase up to the commercial phase. And too often, if you don't have enough frontline level knowledge built into the product, you don't build the right thing, which means number one, it doesn't solve the problem. And number two, it doesn't make money for the company. So we need nurses and engineers working together at the very beginning of product development in order to make products that are relevant to bedside care and that can actually improve care. The other thing is this allows nurses, this opens up the door for nurses to think about other ways to apply their nursing knowledge. We already have commitment from Draeger Medical, for example, to start placing some of our students in their product development teams as interns, which gives you firsthand experience during your undergraduate years, something that they've never been able to have.
Thank you. This next question, I'm gonna let you guys duke out who would like to answer it. This is coming in through the Q&A, and I think it's an interesting question. What is the process that you go through to form a new project, and how do you decide?
That's a good question. I think honestly, new projects have to come from some inspiration, right? It comes from honestly exposure, and I think that's really what the core of what the center is about, is exposing engineers to the problems in nursing, and it's exposing nurses to the solutions that maybe engineering might offer. I think what you have found in talking to a lot of nurses as kind of in developing the center is just the empowerment, right? I mean, sometimes in the typical sort of nursing education, you go through, this is the process, this is the tools that you learn, here's the IV pump that you're going to use, and then you're going to be put into the hospital using that pump, right? And it's that, these changes and what the people see and what they feel might actually needs improvement, empowering them to sort of have a voice and giving them the tools and entrepreneurship and product development to be able to raise those concerns and actually to follow those sort of hunches that something's not right and we can do better. And likewise, on the engineering side, it's that same thing, right? If an engineer sort of just hangs out in the lab all day, they can only sort of guess at what the problems are, but being able to embed them in the environment, get exposure. And I think with that, then, it's just trying to get a portfolio, right? It's trying to get a portfolio of projects, what ideas are the leading ideas, and then sort of thinking what has the potential and impact that you want to go after. So Karen, if you want to add to that.
No, thanks, Frank. And I think you hit it on the nail on the head by saying you really have to find a relevant problem to solve. And unfortunately, in healthcare, there's an infinite number of those. So pretty much the sky's the limit. And then from a more practical standpoint, we have to have the team and the ability to do it here. So for example, the bedpan project came from Nicole. I know that's not a really glitzy one, but it's a problem in need of being solved. And we have the team to do it. And we were able to get a group of mechanical engineers to both learn and then work on our actual project with potential real relevance.
Thank you. We're getting close to the end of our session, so this is going to be our last question, and I'm going to take it from the chat. And the question is, do you anticipate establishing a network with local rehab, elder care hospitals, and other healthcare centers to get input and refine your research ideas?
I can start that one if you want. I think, first of all, we absolutely need it. Even though this is UMass, and we are obviously focused a lot on educating students, we can't do that without having our finger on the pulse of what's happening in actual clinical practice setting. So we already have several collaborative relationships with hospitals, and so we're always looking to grow that network. And I, because of just the nature of my work, have been focused on acute care, but we absolutely need to think about other care settings outside of the hospital as well.
Thank you. And I think we'd like to share that if folks are connected with those settings and want to connect us with them, we are certainly open to that. That brings us to the end of our Q&A session. Just because we're out of time, I apologize if we didn't get to all of your questions. We had some really good ones. I'm gonna thank you so much, Dr. Giuliano and Professor Supp. I appreciate both of you for fielding all of these questions. I'm gonna bring us over to closing remarks. And our closing remarks are going to be by Dr. Cynthia Jocelon. Dr. Jocelon is giving closing remarks on behalf of the Elaine Marib College of Nursing today. As Dean Rahman said, Dean Vorderstrasse really sends her regrets that she was not able to be here today, but is very, very enthusiastic about this project. Dr. Jocelon is the principal investigator of the NIH-funded UManage Center for Building the Science of Symptom Self-Management and is the executive associate dean at the UMass Amherst Elaine Marib College of Nursing. Thanks for representing nursing.
Thank you, Olivia. I bring you greetings from Janine Allison Vorderstrasse, who couldn't be with us today and is very sad to miss this. Chancellor Swami outlined the history of the collaboration between the Marib College of Nursing and the College of Engineering. He also identified the significant contributions of alumni Terry and Mike Hallucci. And I remember some of those early projects, Terry, where we had those undergraduate students doing summer research-intensive experiences. The gift from Elaine Marib for the Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation will carry us forward. Building on those early collaborations and the UManage Center for Disease Self-Management of Chronic Conditions using wearable and handheld technology, we learned a lot about interdisciplinary collaboration. The Center for Nursing and Engineering Innovation will provide an incubator to change the way healthcare is delivered, and it will provide an opportunity for collaboration to create the personalized healthcare of the future. I want to thank the panelists for telling us about the center and all of you, our nursing and engineering alumni, for attending today. Thank you. Back to you, Olivia.
Thank you so much for stepping in today. I appreciate that so much. Thank you all for attending today. This brings us to the end, the conclusion of our program today, but hopefully it's not the end of our overall discussion. We hope for all of you who attended today and are excited about this, that you stay in touch with us, that you connect with us, that you open up your connections with us, and that you get involved and give us your thoughts. Our contact information was just put into the Q&A area for all of you to see. So feel free to get in touch with myself or with MK Young, who is in engineering. We'd be happy to get back to you. I know some of your questions today that you posted, we are happy to field to Karen and Frank, are the directors of the center, and I'm sure they will get back to you and are delighted with all the connections you can offer. Thank you again for attending, and this concludes our program.